Good evening. We will shortly begin the evening's performance. May I request you all to kindly switch off your mobile phones. Please do not speak on the phone during the performance, nor leave the auditorium. Request you also not to click pictures during the performance. Rama take presents. Shalom Aleichem. Tevye wins a fortune. Who raiseth up the poor out of the dust, and lifteth up the needy out of the dunghill.
Goldie! Goldie, my dear, your Tevye is home from work and in time for the Sabbath.
Ah, there you are, my money spinner, Tevye. What makes this Sabbath different from all the others when we and the children have gone to bed hungry? Have you got anything more today than a few stale rolls of bread?
Goldie, here I am, dead tired from pulling wagon loads of logs all day long, and you shower me with your choicest blessings. Here, take this for the Sabbath.
What is it?
A few stale rolls.
Ah,
Goldie, if your Tevye is destined to strike it rich, money will roll in from all directions without our asking for it. As King David says, it never rains, but it pours.
King David says a lot to you, but never keeps his word.
On the other hand, a person may slave wear himself to the bone and still get nowhere.
I can see that, the schlimazel.
Oh God, with your help I'm starving to death, me and my wife and children.
7 of them I had to bear for you. I might as well take them all and throw them into the river. May God not punish me for these words.
Goldie, I know how you feel. We're only human. The stomach is empty and words won't fill it. If you swallow a piece of herring, you want some tea. And for tea, you need sugar. And sugar, I'm told, is in the grocery store.
Ah, my stomach can get along without a piece of bread. But if I don't get a glass of tea in the morning, I'm a dead woman. All night long, the baby sucks me dry.
Oh God, I know we are the chosen ones. But for once, can't you choose someone else? Come, my Goldie, it's almost time for the Sabbath. Let's give the children our blessings, if not food. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. May the Lord protect and defend you. May He always shield you from shame. May you come to be in Israel a shining name. May you be like Ruth and like Esther. May you be deserving of praise. Strengthen them, O Lord, and keep them from the stranger's ways. May God bless you and grant you long life.
May the Lord fulfill our Sabbath prayer for you. May God make you good mothers and
May He send you husbands who will care for you. May the Lord protect and defend you. May He always shield you from pain. Favor them, O Lord, with happiness and peace. Oh, hear our Sabbath prayer. My little mini Kava, why are you crawling along so slowly? If your Tevye is hoarse, you too must know the pangs of hunger. What? Rest now? Oh. All right, Slimazel, rest a while. Yet another Sabbath when we're going home with nothing for Goldie and the children. Ah, but there's no need for that long face, eh? Eufen Führer liegt da Kälbel, liegt gebunden mit der Strick, Heuken Himmel flitt da Schwelbel, freit sich, dreht sich hin und strickt. Lagt der Wind in Korn, lagt und lagt und lagt, lagt der Opa Togga ganzen und eine halbe Nacht. Donna, 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 do. Donna, 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 do. Oh, thieves, thieves. Tevye, what's the matter with you? You've been driving through this forest by years, by day and by night. Why should you suddenly begin to worry about thieves? Thieves and Tevye? Never. Giddy up, giddy up.
Mister, stop. Please stop. Don't run away, mister. We won't do you any harm.
An evil spirit? Tevye, you ox, you ass. Why should you suddenly begin to worry about evil spirits? Good evening. Look who's here. What is it that you want? If you want to buy something, all I have is a gnawing stomach, a heart full of pain, a head full of worries, and all the misery and wretchedness of the world.
Listen to him going on. That's enough. You say one word to a man and you get a lecture in return. There is nothing we want to buy. We only want to ask, do you know where the road to Boyberik is?
To Boyberik? Why, you might as well ask if I know my name is Tevye.
Oh, so that's what they call you?
Yes.
Tevye? Good evening then, Mr. Tevye.
Oh, good evening.
What is there to laugh at? We are strangers here. We are from Yehupets.
And Mama and I are staying at the Dacha in Boyberik this morning. Oh, it's all my fault, Mama. I told you.
No, Babushka, I told you.
No, Mama. I told
No, Babushka, I told you.
No, Mama. I told
Now what is it that you told her or you told her?
I told Mama, let's go for a short walk through the woods. And the result is... We've been wandering ever since, going round and round in
A
circles.
little while ago, we heard a jackal howling.
Oh, like this.
Easy, Babushka. That's only this gentleman. And then we heard someone singing in the forest. At first, we thought it was a highwayman. But when we came closer and saw that it was only you, we felt relieved. Now do you understand?
A fine highwayman. Have you heard the story about the Jewish highwayman who waylaid a traveler in the forest and demanded a pinch of snuff? If you like, I could tell it to you.
Leave that for some other time. Right now, show us how to get back to Boyberik.
To Boyberik? Why, this is the way to Boyberik. Even if you don't want to, you couldn't help getting there if you followed this path.
Oh, is it far?
No, not far, only a few versts. That is 5 or 6.
5, 6,
Maybe 7.
7.
But certainly no more than 8.
8 verse! Mama, do you know what he's saying? Only 8 verse?
Well, what do you want me to do about it? If it were up to me, I'd have made it a little shorter.
Why do you talk like a half-wit? We are too tired to take another step. It's nearly evening. We've had nothing to eat all day except for a glass of coffee and a butter roll in the morning. And you are bothering us with foolish comments.
Well, that's different. You can't expect a person to dance before they've eaten.
Do you know what, Mama? Maybe it would be a good idea if we jumped onto Reb Tevye's wagon and you took us home to Boyberik. What do you say, Reb Tevye?
It's a fine idea. Here I am coming from Boybury.
Yes.
And you going to Boybury. Yes. How can I go both ways at the same time?
Well, don't you know what you can do? A wise and learned man can figure it out for himself. He would turn the wagon around and go back again. That's all. Don't be afraid, Reb Tevye. You can be sure that when you and the Almighty get us back home again, we'll see to it that your kindness won't go unrewarded.
They're talking Chinese. I don't understand them. What do they mean? Are they witches and evil spirits and goblins? Tummy, what are you doing standing here? Jump into the wagon at once, show the horse your whip and get away from here. Well, get in. Yup. 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 Ah. The horse doesn't know what I'm talking about. He won't move an inch. Ah, my little mini Kava. This is not the first time you've starved, so why are you not moving, eh? What? You think these women are devils disguised as innocent women? That they will kill you and me and with a piercing laugh vanish into thin air?
Well, what's keeping you?
What's keeping me? Can't you see what's keeping me? The horse doesn't want to play. He's not in a mood.
Well, you've got a whip, haven't you? Then use it.
Well, thank you for the advice. The only trouble with that is our friend here, he's not used to these sort of things. He's as used to the whip as I am to poverty. Mini Kava, you're embarrassing me. What's the matter with you? What will these women think of us? I know that's not the way home, but the sooner we get these two to Boybury, the sooner we can get home. So get a move on. Please. Tevye, what a dull ox you are. You've always been good for nothing and you'll die good for nothing. Why don't you find out in advance what you're going to get for it? How much it's going to be worth to you? Stop the horse, you ox. Tell them what you want. Either you get so much and so much for the trip, or ask them to be so kind as to jump off the wagon at once.
Why don't you drive a little faster?
What's your hurry? Nothing good ever came from rushing too much. I'll swear they look like women. Just plain ordinary women.
Are we getting closer?
Closer? Yes. But not any closer than we really are.
Sounds like a schlemazel.
As if we haven't had troubles enough already.
A little crazy too, I'm afraid.
I must be mad letting them drag me around by the nose like this. Where would you like to be bumped off, ladies?
Bumped off? What do you mean, bumped off? What kind of language is that?
Well, it's only an expression. What I meant was, where would you like to be transported, dear ladies, when, with God's help and the blessings of Providence, we arrive at Boybury?
Oh, really?
Go straight ahead through the woods until you come to the green dacha by the river. Do you know where that is?
How could I help knowing? I know Boybury as well as I know my own home. Someone from Yehupet used to live in that dacha. A rich man, a millionaire.
He still lives there.
Well, in that case, if you have some connection with the man, maybe it would be possible, if you wanted to, that is, to put in a word or two in my behalf. Get me some sort of work, a job of some kind, huh? So, here we are at the river, and there is your green dacha. And I drive smartly right up to the porch. Yup. Yup, yup.
Fire! Auntie!
You should have seen the excitement when they saw them coming. Such cheering and shouting. Grandmother, mother, auntie, they've come home. Congratulations, Mazel Tov. Where have you been? We went crazy all day. We sent messengers in all directions. We thought, who knows, maybe wolves, highwaymen, tell us what happened. Who can tell? Well, to make a long story short, they brought lamps out onto the porch, laid the table, and began bringing things out. Hot samovars, tea glasses, sugar, preserves, and fresh pastry that I could smell even from where I was standing. After that, all kinds of food, rich fat soup, goose, roast beef, and the finest of wines and salads. I stood there at the edge of the porch, watching them from a distance and thinking, what fine lives these people from Yehupets must lead. Praise the Lord. I wouldn't mind being one of them myself. The food these people drop on the floor would be enough to feed my starving children all week long. Oh God, all powerful and all merciful, great and good, kind and just. How is it that to some people you give everything and to others nothing? To some butter rolls and the others the plague? What would have been so terrible if you gave me a small fortune? Small. If I were a rich man, yabba dabba 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 dum. All day long I'd bitty fitty bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. Yabba dabba 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 dum. If I were a little bitty rich, idle diddle diddle man, I'd build a big tall house with rooms by the dozen right in the middle of the town. A fine tin roof with real wooden floors below. And there'd be one long staircase just going up, and one even longer coming down, and one more leading nowhere just for show. I'd fill my yard with chicks and turkeys and geese and ducks for the town to see and hear, squawking just as noisily as they can. And each loud squawk and a clack and a gobble and honk will land like a trumpet on the air, as if to say, here lives a wealthy man. Ay, 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 ay. If I were a rich man, yabba dabba 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 dum. All day long I'd bitty bitty bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. Yabba dabba 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 dum. If I were a little bitty rich, idle diddle diddle man, I'd see my wife, my Goldie, looking like a rich man's wife with a proper double chin, supervising meals to her heart's delight. I'd see her putting on airs and strutting like a peacock. Ooh, what a happy mood she's in! Screaming at the servants day and night, yabba-day, yabba-day, yabba-dabba-day! The most important men in town would come and fawn on me. They would ask me to advise them, like Solomon the wise. If you please, Rabbi Tevye, pardon me, Rabbi Tevye, posing problems that would cross a rabbi's eyes. Yabba day ba day, day ba day, day ba day. And it won't make one bit of difference if I answer right or wrong. When you're rich, they think you really know. If I were rich, I'd have the time that I lack to sit in the synagogue and pray, and maybe have a seat by the eastern wall. And I'd discuss the holy books with the learned men 7 hours every day. And that would be the sweetest thing of all. if I were a rich man. Yabba dabba 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 da. All day long I'd bitty bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. Yabba dabba 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 da. Lord, who made the lion and the lamb, you decreed I should be who I am. Would it spoil some vast eternal plan? If I were a wealthy man.
Red Tevye, come here. What are you standing there in the corner for? Maybe you'd like a little whiskey.
Whiskey? Whoever refused a glass of whiskey? What does the Holy Book say? God is God, but whiskey is something you can drink. Your health, ladies, your health.
By the way, what do you do? Where do you live? Do you have any children?
Children? Do I have children? Well, if it were true that every child were worth $1 million, as my gold day says, I would be richer than the richest man in Yahupets. But we still go to bed hungry. What does the Holy Book say? The world belongs to him who has money. It's the millionaires who have the money. All I have is daughters.
Reb Tevye, won't you have something to eat? It's all laid on the table inside.
A little whiskey, granted, but don't expect me to sit there and have a meal like that while at home my wife and children, well, they soon caught on to what I was driving at. And you should have seen them start bringing things out and loading them onto my wagon. One of them brought fresh white bread, the other fish, meat, tea, a packet of sugar, a pot of chicken fat and a jar of preserves.
Now take all this. Take it home to your wife and your children.
And now tell us how much you'd want us to pay you for all you did for us.
How do I know what it was worth, or whatever you think is right? If it's a penny more or a penny less, I'd still be the same Tevye either way, wouldn't I, Minikava?
No, we want you to tell us yourself, Reb Tevye. Don't be afraid. We won't chop your head off.
This is hard. What do I do now? What if I ask for 1 ruble when they might be prepared to pay me 2? On the other hand, if I ask for 2 rubles, they might think me crazy. 3 rubles. Well, excuse me if I said the wrong thing. Even a horse that has 4 feet stumbles once in a while. So why not a man who has but 1 tongue?
Reb Tevye, come here. This is from us. No, what are you standing there for? Put the money in your pocket and go home to your wife and children.
May you have everything that you desire 10 times over. May you have all that is good. May you have nothing but joy. And now, good night, good luck, and God be with you and your children and your grandchildren and with all your relatives.
Wait a minute, Reb Tevye. I want to give you something more. Come back tomorrow morning if all is well. I have a cow, a milk cow. It was once a wonderful cow. Used to give 24 glasses of milk a day. But some jealous person must have cast an evil eye on it. You can't milk it anymore. That is, you can milk it all right, but nothing comes.
Long may you live. Don't worry. If you give us the cow, we'll not only milk it, we'll get milk too. My wife, she's so resourceful, she makes noodles out of almost nothing. Adds water and we have noodle soup. Every week she performs a miracle. we have food for Sabbath. She's raised 7 children. When often for supper, she has nothing to give them but a box on the ears. Excuse me if I've talked too much. As King David says, I am slow of speech, but I have a lot to say. And now, good night, good luck, and God be with you. We got home late that night, but I woke up my wife with a shout. Goldie! Goldie, my dear, your Tevye is home. Congratulations and mazel tov.
Oh, black and endless mazel tov to you. What are you so happy about, huh, my money spinner? Have you come from a wedding or a circumcision feast, my gold spinner?
A wedding and a circumcision all rolled into one. Just wait, my dear, till I show you the treasures I have brought for you. But first, wake up the children. Let them have a taste of the Yehupet's delicacies as well.
Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Are you insane? Or just delirious? Out of your mind? You sound unbalanced.
Once a wife, always a wife. No wonder King Solomon said that among his 1,000 wives, there wasn't one that was good for anything. It's a good thing that it isn't the custom anymore to have a lot of wives. Look, my dear, fresh white bread, meat, fish, and all the goodies.
Ay, ay, ay! Who has decided to feed the countryside? Oh, what makes you so gay? Who gave you these drinks?
Just wait, my dear, and I'll tell you everything. But first, heat up the samovar. Then we'll all sit down at the table as good people should now and then and have some tea. We live but once, let's celebrate. We are independent now. We have a cow that used to be good for 24 glasses. Tomorrow morning, God willing, I'll bring her home. And Goldie, my dear, I have something to show you. Look at this. Come, my dear, show us how clever you are and tell us how much there is there. The Lord protect you. What are you scared of? You think I stole it? Ah, Goldie, you've been Tevye's wife for 25 years and you think that of me? Silly, this is kosher money earned by my own wit and my own labor. I rescued 2 women from a great misfortune. If it wasn't for me, I don't know what would have become of them. And I told her everything from A to Z. The story of all my wanderings, and she sat there and counted the money again and again. There were 18 rubles for good luck, and 18 more for more good luck, and one besides, in all 37 rubles. Goldie, what are you crying for, you foolish
How
woman?
can I help crying when my tears won't stop? When the heart is full, the eyes run over. May God help me, Tevye. I knew you would come home with good news today. Before you came, I was asleep and I dreamt. I saw a milk pail full to the brim.
God saw your dream and he gave us a cow of our own. So no doubt he will also make it give milk. Tell me, Goldie, what do you think we should do with all this money?
Yes, Tevye, what do you plan to do with so much money?
And we began to think of this and that, one thing after another. That evening we had engaged in every kind of business you can imagine. We bought a pair of horses and sold them at a profit. We opened a grocery store in Boybury, sold the stock and went into the dry goods business. We got an option on some woodland and made something on that as well. After that, we obtained the tax concession at Anathevka, and from our earnings began to loan out money and more money and money.
Be careful, don't be so reckless. Before you know it, you'll throw it all away and have nothing left but your whip.
Well, what do you want me to do then?
Well, what we have decided is this. We will buy another cow
In addition to the one you're getting for nothing. A cow that will really give us milk.
For once, I agreed with my wife. You might ask why a cow, and I'll answer, why not a cow? Here we are, so close to Boyburik, where all the rich people from Yehupets come to spend the summer at their dachas. Why shouldn't there be someone who would be willing to come to their kitchen doors every morning with fresh cream and butter and cheese and whatever? So we earn a living. I am often stopped on the road by important people from Yehupets, even Russians, who beg me to bring them what I can spare. We've heard, Tevye, that you're an upright man, even though you are Jewish. Well, how often does one get a compliment like that, eh? I'm afraid I've said too much already. I forgot we all have work to do. What does the Holy Book say? Let the shoemaker stick to his last. You to your desk and your papers, and me to my pots and my jugs, and to my gold, eh? Come to me. And now, good night, good luck, and God be with you.
We will shortly begin the second performance of the evening. May I request you all to kindly switch off your mobile phones. Thank you. May I request you once again to please switch off your mobile phone. Presenting Roald Dahl's thriller Lamb to the Slaughter.
Oh, honey, picture me upon your knee, with tea for two and two for tea, just me for you and you for me alone. Nobody near us to see us or hear us, no friends or relations on weekend vacations. We won't have it known, dear, that we own a telephone. Day will break and I'm gonna wake and start to bake a sugar cake for you to take, for all the boys to see. We will raise a family, a boy for you and a girl for me. Oh, can't you see how happy we will be? Oh, can't you see how happy we will be? Day will break and I'm gonna wake and start to bake a sugar cake for you to take, for all the boys to see. We will raise a family, a boy for you and a girl for me. Oh, can't you see how happy we will be? Oh, can't you see how happy we will be? Oh, can't you see how happy we will be? Darling, is something the matter? The bothering about the Manari case you mentioned? Is that the trouble? Well, try not to think about it for a while. It makes you all tired and worried like this. Darling, why don't you take off your coat? And then you can sit yourself down comfortably and relax. We certainly won't go out for dinner if you don't want to. I'll call Harriet and tell her that you're much too tired. Would you like me to do that? She'll understand. I know she will. And I'll cook you some nice supper right here at home. There's plenty of meat in the freezer. We'll have a nice roast. It's going to take a little longer to cook. That's all. Oh. And before I forget, I must tell you, old Mrs. Keating gave me a ring test today. You know where they put a ring in a string and dangle it over your tummy? And guess what? It's a boy. There's absolutely no doubt about it, she says. She's never been wrong yet in her whole life. Isn't that exciting?
Where are you going?
To the kitchen to get the meat out of the freezer.
Sit down. Sit down a minute.
Patrick, what is all this? What's wrong, darling? Please tell me.
Well, this is going to come as a bit of a shock to you. But I hope you won't blame me too much.
I won't blame you for anything. And you know that.
The truth is, Mary, I want to leave you. You understand me, don't you? I want to leave you.
You don't mean that.
Yes, I do mean it. And what's more, I want a divorce. There's someone else I want to marry. That really is all there is to it. I love her, and she loves me. Now, we better be sensible about it all. Calm and sensible. I'll arrange for the divorce. And naturally, you can have the baby when it comes. You'll have some money. Sorry, I can't give you a lot. You'll get along all right.
I'll get you your supper.
Get what?
Your supper, darling. I never let you go without your supper. You'll feel better when you have something to eat. Leg of a lamb. All right then. We'll have lamb for supper. Patrick, what are you doing?
I am going.
You can't go, Patrick. You can't. You can't. You can't.
No.
I won't let you. I won't. I won't. I won't. I won't. I won't.
There's no sense in getting hysterical about all this.
I mean it.
Try and stop me.
Have I killed him? Oh no! I know I'll go to jail for this, like the killers he used to tell me about. In fact, it'll be a relief. But on the other hand, what about the child? What were the laws about murders with unborn children? Did they kill them both, mother and child? Or did they wait until the 10th month? What did they do? Oh, I don't know. Oh. But I can't take a chance, baby. I'll never leave you. Never. I'll put this in the oven. Patrick's just come home and he's utterly exhausted. Poor thing. Yeah. So I was just wondering if it was okay if we didn't come over tonight. I knew you'll understand. You're an angel, Harriet. No. There's nothing like that. He's just been working too hard. That's all. Maybe we'll see you over the weekend. That'll be lovely. Goodbye, Harriet. Bye. Bye. Give me the police! Quickly!
You have to help us, Mrs. Maloney. You think you can pull yourself together and talk to me a little?
Yes, I'll try. I'll do my best.
Now tell me, is this exactly how the room looked like when you walked in?
Yes,
You haven't touched a thing?
no. Not except Patrick. I just came in the front door and I saw him lying there like that. And,
You did what when you saw him?
well, I tried to talk to him. But when I saw that he was dead, I ran to the phone.
Now, what time was it when you went out? Can you tell us that?
I think it was about 20 minutes ago.
It's 6:14 now. You think it was around 5 to 6?
Yes, I think so.
Doc and a photographer coming right now.
Oh, I want to see them.
And got a man in the front and one at the back.
Mrs. Maloney, do you usually go out shopping so late? Excuse me, but I have to ask you these questions.
Well, I understand. Well, no, I don't. As a matter of fact, we was just going out for dinner with some friends. But Patrick seemed so terribly exhausted, I had to call up and cancel.
Who did you call?
Harriet Vandenow. They live on South Street.
When your husband came in today, do you think there was something on his mind? Do you think he was worried about anything?
No, not especially. Just seemed terribly tired.
I see. When he first came in... Oh, excuse me.
Doc.
Who did it?
No idea. See what you can find out, would you, Doc?
Is that his wife?
Yes.
You better take her to the next room.
Let's go to the other room for a while, shall we? You'll be more comfortable there and then we can talk easy there too.
I don't want to. I want to stay here. Please let me stay. I'll be all right.
You've got something cooking in the kitchen here, ma'am.
Yes. That was his supper.
But I thought you had no supper in the house. Isn't that why you wanted to go out?
Well, yes. But I had to get some vegetables. I had plenty of meat. I always keep plenty of meat in the freezer.
Well,
Looks like a severely fractured base to me. Just one blow, right on the back of the head.
can you make any guess?
I can. Up to a point, yes. It's bound to be something heavy, that's obvious. But it isn't sharp. At least I don't think there are any sharp edges on it.
Now, why do you say that?
Well, look for yourself. That skin on the scalp isn't even broken. It isn't a hammer, for instance. It's more like a large club of some sort.
A club?
Yes, something shaped like a club anyway. Smooth and rounded at the end. That's my guess.
See you later, Doc. Let me know as soon as you're through with the lab.
I'll do that.
Steady.
Mrs. Maloney, you said you didn't notice anything particularly unusual about your husband's behavior when he came in this evening.
No, not especially. Just seemed terribly tired.
I see. He had a drink.
Yes, he always had a drink when he came home from work.
He usually took soda, didn't he?
Yes, I think so.
And ice, of course.
Mm-hmm.
This evening, He took it straight.
Well, I suppose he did.
Now think hard, Mrs. Maloney, please. He comes into the door. So what's the first thing he does after that?
He kissed me.
Now wait. And please excuse me for asking these questions, but I'm simply trying to find out what was on your husband's mind when he came home. You're quite sure he kissed you. It wasn't that you kissed him.
He kissed me.
Okay. Then he walks straight over there and makes himself a shot of neat whiskey. Am I right?
Well,
He doesn't usually take a drink before he takes his coat off, does he?
no, I guess not.
You saw all this and you still didn't think that he was a worried man?
Well, I told you. I just thought that he was very tired.
You know what I think, Mrs. Maloney? I think he was desperately worried. And if we can only find out why that was, then we'll be able to get somewhere.
Well, I wish I could help you some more.
The other thing I gotta find is that weapon. Hey, Mike! Now look, I want you to go outside right away and comb every inch of the garden. Have those fellows out there to help you. See what you can find. Use some flashlights. I'll check the rest of the house.
Right, Chief. On it.
Mrs. Maloney,
Yes?
for some reason, I don't believe this was a premeditated murder, nor was it a professional job. I think it was a quarrel, and then someone lost their temper. And then, well, this person, whoever he was, simply grabbed hold of an object that happened to be closer to him and swung it on your husband. The point is this. If I am right, then the weapon that he used is something that's already in this house. Now then, this is how you might be able to help us out here. First of all, can you tell me if there's something that's missing from this room that could have been used as a weapon? Take your time.
Well, I'm not sure. What sort of thing do you mean?
Something like a club, for instance.
A club? You mean something like a baseball bat?
Yes, exactly.
No, there isn't a baseball bat in the house.
Okay. How about a door stopper or a heavy metal vase or anything like... You know what I mean, don't you?
Yes, I think so. But it's so hard to remember everything that's there in the house.
Any luck, Mike?
No, we've searched all the rooms and the garage. Nothing yet. Mrs. Maloney, it's 10:15. Miss Maloney,
Yes?
you quite sure you wouldn't want someone to take you to Mrs. Vandenor's house tonight?
Oh, no. Thank you. I couldn't go anywhere at the moment.
Well, would you like to go to bed and lie down then? This could take all night, you see.
That's all right. I may do that.
Something fishy about this case.
Well, go on.
I don't believe there ever was a fight in this room. I think someone purposely fixed it afterwards to make it look as if there had been one.
Why do you say that?
I'll tell you why. It isn't humanly possible to club a man on the back of his head right here in the middle of a fight.
Not unless there were two people,
That's right, but I don't think there were two people.
or unless he got knocked down during the fight and the other person hit him while he was on the floor.
No one knocked him out first. There isn't a single bruise or mark on his entire body, only where he'd been hit. And another thing, he was carrying a gun, wasn't he?
Yes, sure he was.
Then why didn't he use it? You know why? Because he didn't even realize he was being threatened.
In that case, the killer was probably someone who knew him pretty well.
Exactly.
You think it could have been the woman?
Why do you say that?
Well, I know our friend used to fool around a bit now and again.
Ah, I see what you mean. Well, we got to find that weapon. Did anyone think to turn off that oven?
Oh, whatever it is must be burnt by now.
Hey, that looks all right.
Yes, it does.
That's mighty peculiar, isn't it? I thought it would have been burnt to crisp by now.
So did I.
Or maybe it takes longer considering how big it is.
Well, it is a big one, all right.
Yeah, you're darn right it's big.
Is that spoiled?
It's all right, it's not spoiled.
Well, I just came to ask you if you would want to have a cup of coffee. You must be terribly tired, both of you. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of it sooner.
That's not necessary, ma'am. You mustn't bother about us.
We'll be all right.
Well, Patrick wouldn't forgive me if I didn't look after you properly. He always told me how grateful he was when in the old days someone would offer him a cup of coffee and he couldn't come home for a meal. He said that's the least you could do when someone's trying to help you out.
Well, that's certainly good of you.
It sure is.
I tell you what, why don't you have some of this too?
We couldn't do that, Mrs. Maloney.
Couldn't dream of it.
We'll be sending out for some sandwiches in a while.
Oh no, have this instead, or I'll have to throw this out if you don't.
Well, what about you, ma'am?
Me? Oh no, no. I couldn't touch a thing. No. Give some to the others too, particularly those two out in the cold. Ask them both, why don't you? And give them a nice hot meal. It's very good meat, I promise you that.
Boy, this is great.
Best piece of meat I've had in my meal.
She said we could finish it, didn't she?
She did. I've even given some to the fellows outside. They've been searching in nooks and corners for hours now.
I'd love to have this brown, crispy stuff left in the end over here. I suppose it'd be all right to take this bone home for my dog.
Sure. She said she didn't want to see it again.
You missed a real good meal.
Any dope on the case as yet, Chief?
Not at all. No one's found the weapon. Doc says it's some sort of a club.
You mean a shillelagh or something?
I don't know. Something heavy anyway. Whoever did it aren't going to carry a thing like that around longer than they need it.
You know, personally, I think it's right here on the premises.
Well, for all we know, it might be right under our very noses.
William Somerset Maughams, Mr. Knowall.
I was prepared to dislike Max Calada even before I knew him. The war had just finished, and the passenger traffic in the ocean-going liners was heavy. Accommodation was very hard to get, and you had to put up with whatever the agents chose to offer you. You could not hope for a cabin to yourself, and I was thankful to be given one in which there were only 2 berths. But when I heard the name of my companion, my heart sank. It suggested closed portholes and the night air rigidly excluded. It was bad enough to share a cabin for 14 days with anyone. You see, I was traveling from San Francisco to Tokyo, but I should have looked upon it with less dismay if my fellow passenger's name had been Smith or Brown. When I came on board, I found Mr. Calada's luggage already below. I didn't like the look of it. There were far too many labels on the suitcases, and the wardrobe trunk was too big. He had unpacked his toilet things, and I observed that he was a patron of the excellent Monsieur Coty, for I saw on the washing stand his scent, his hair wash, and his brilliantine. Mr. Kelada's brushes, ebony with his monogram in gold, would have been all the better for a scrub. I did not at all like Mr. Kelada. Having time on my hands, I decided to make my way to the smoking room. Being alone, I picked up a pack of cards and began to play patience.
If I'm not wrong, you would be Edward Morrison, huh?
Yes.
I am Mr. Kelada.
Oh, right. We are sharing a cabin, I think.
Bit of luck, I call it. You never know who you're going to be put in with. I was jolly glad when I heard that you were English. I'm all for us English sticking together when we're abroad, if you understand what I mean.
Are you English?
Rather. You don't think that I look like an American, do you? British to the backbone, that's what I am.
King George has many strange subjects. Mr. Kelada's looks, his fluent speech, which had practically nothing English in it, and his exuberant gestures made me feel pretty sure that a closer inspection of that British passport would have betrayed the fact that Mr. Kelada was born under a bluer sky than is generally seen in England.
What will you have?
Well, isn't there prohibition in force? To all appearance, the ship looks bone dry.
Whiskey and soda or a dry martini. You only have to say the word.
All right, a martini for me, please. A jolly good cocktail.
Well, there's plenty more where that came from. And if you've got any friends on board, you tell them that you've got a pal who's got all the liquor in the world. When I was in America, I had such a large bar and there were so many friends.
Mr. Kelada was chatty. He talked of New York and of San Francisco. He discussed pictures, plays, and politics. He was patriotic. The Union Jack is an impressive piece of drapery, but when it is nourished by a gentleman from Alexandria or Beirut, I cannot help but feel that it loses somewhat in dignity. Mr. Kelada was familiar. Now, I do not wish to put on airs, but I cannot help feeling that it is seemly in a total stranger to put Mr. before my name when he addresses me. Mr. Kelada, doubtless to set me at my ease, used no such formality. I did not like Mr. Kelada. Thinking that for this first occasion our conversation had lasted long enough, I decided to go on with my game.
The 3 on the 4. It's coming out, the 10 on the knave. Do you like card tricks?
No, I hate that card tricks.
Well, I'll just show you this one.
He showed me 3. Well, if you don't mind, I think I'll just head down to the dining room and get my seat at the table.
Oh, it's perfectly all right. I have already taken a seat for you. I thought that as you were in the same cabin, we might just as well sit at the same table, waiting there for you.
I did not like Mr. Kelada. I not only shared a cabin with him and ate 3 meals a day at the same table, but I could not walk around the deck without his joining me. It was impossible to snub him. It never occurred to him that he was not wanted. He was certain that you were as glad to see him as he was to see you. In your own house, you might have kicked him downstairs or slammed the door in his face without the suspicion dawning on him that he was not a welcome visitor. I told you earlier that he was chatty, but that was an understatement. Because Mr. Kellada seemed to know lots of things about lots of things. He was voluble and vehement in his arguments and would not drop a subject, however unimportant. We called him
Mr. Knowall.
Even to his face. He took it as a compliment. But life was difficult for me, especially with all the days and nights that I've had to spend with him. I could not wait for the day that this ordeal would end and we would disembark and go our separate ways. But while I was on board, there was only one thing on my mind.
Mr. Kellada was a know-it-all, and I did not like Mr. Kellada. Mr. Kellada was a know-it-all, and I did not like Mr. Kellada. He was a good mixer, and in 3 days knew everyone on board. He managed the sweeps, conducted auctions, collected money for the prizes at the sports, got off the quoits and golf matches, arranged the concert and the fancy dress ball. He was everywhere and all the time, the best held man on the ship he was. Mr. Kellada was a know-it-all, and I did not like Mr. Kellada. Mr. Kellada was a know-it-all, and I did not like Mr. Kellada. And every night I heard him snore. He had promised wouldn't call him a bore. The only time I got to gnar was my time every morning in the shower. He was everywhere and all the time, the most seen man on the ship he was. Mr. Kellada was a know-it-all, and I did not like Mr. Kellada. Mr. Kellada was a know-it-all, and I did not like Mr. Kellada. Mr. Kellada was a know-it-all, and I did not like Mr. Kellada. Good evening, Doctor. Aren't you early for dinner? May I have the pleasure of joining you?
The pleasure is mine, dear friend. I thought after suffering the unstoppable Mr. Kellada for lunch, dinner and tea for 3 days, I'd grab a chance to slip in and slip out before he makes an entrance.
And a grand entrance it always is. Hearty, jovial, loquacious, and once he gets going, argumentative and intolerable.
Mr. Knowall. He seems to know everything better than anyone else. It seems an affront to his overweening vanity if you happen to disagree with him.
As our friend from Tokyo, Mr. Ramsay, often seems to do.
You mean the chap with that pretty little wife?
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, Edward, I find her the more pleasant and better turned out of the two.
I agree, Doc. She dresses rather simply, but manages to achieve an effect of quiet distinction.
And her husband, quite the opposite, bulging out of those ill-fitting ready-made clothes, and that annoying habit of pulling up his trousers every now and then.
The wife, I would say, possesses a quality that's nowadays not quite obvious in women. You cannot look at her without being struck by her modesty.
Oh, yes. It shines in her like a flower on a coat.
Would you have any idea of her husband's occupation?
Ramsay, I think, is in the American Consular Service and is stationed in Tokyo. He's on his way back to resume his post, having made a flying visit to New York to bring his wife, who had been spending a year at home.
A year alone in New York?
That's right. Ah, here they come.
Good evening!
Good evening.
Ha! What a pleasure to see the table free of that ill-mannered loudmouth, Mr. Knowall.
I believe you and he have not been seeing eye to eye on many matters.
Well, I have immense respect for anyone knowledgeable, but our man seems to know everything about industry, trade, religion, politics, geology, mining, culture, music, what have you. He has the gall to inform me of the policies of the American Consular Service, right from the war in Russia to the timing of the next round of diplomatic postings.
He is the chap who knows.
I'm sure, Doctor, he could give you the latest research on non-invasive techniques for the surgery of the hypothalamus.
And there he makes his grand entrance. Should we all stand up?
Good evening to my dear friends here. How glad I am to see you all. Let me first compliment Lady Ramsay on the excellent dressage she is wearing and the lovely string of pearls to go with it. Ah, Mr. Ramsay, you are indeed a lucky man. But here, I have a surprise for all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me have the pleasure of presenting to you the most famous singer on board this evening, the gorgeous Miss Sylvie.
Diamonds are forever. They are all I need to please me. They can stimulate and tease me. They won't live in the night. I've no fear that they might desert me. Diamonds are forever. Hold one up and then caress it. Touch it, stroke it and undress it. I can see every part, nothing hides in the heart to hurt me. I don't need love, for what good love to me? Diamonds never lie to me, for when love's gone, the luster on. Diamonds are forever, sparkling round my little finger. Unlike when the diamonds linger, men are mere mortal who are not worth going to your grave for. I don't need love, for what good love do me? Diamonds never lie to me, for when love's gone, the luster on. Diamonds are forever, forever, forever. Diamonds are forever, 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 forever and ever.
Ah, a beautiful song. Diamonds, jewelry, all that sits rather nicely on beautiful ladies.
Psha! These are passé now. Things are changing in this industry. Look at platinum jewelry and cultured pearls. Didn't you read the article in the Sunday papers?
I read it too. Cultured pearls are all the rage. They must inevitably diminish the value of the real ones. It says they're very good already. They'll soon be perfect.
The cunning Japanese inserting tissue into a mollusk and growing a pearl out of it.
The son of a noodle maker, I understand, is the pioneer in this farming business. And he makes them out of fresh water.
Not fresh water, but salt water. And the son of a rice farmer, not a noodle maker.
I'm just quoting from the newspaper article.
Do you mean to say that I don't read my papers? I may miss breakfast, but I never miss my Sunday papers. Half a dozen of them.
But your foolish remarks show that you don't know nothing about pearls, cultured or natural.
What do you mean? I ought to know what I'm talking about. I am going to Japan just to look into this Japanese pearl business. I am in the trade, and there's not a man in it who won't tell you that what I say about pearls goes. I know all the best pearls in the world, and what I don't know about pearls isn't worth knowing.
This is certainly news to us, Mr. Kellada. We knew you were a Mr. Knowall, but that you specialize in any particular business was hidden from us so far.
I do. They will never be able to get a culture pearl that an expert like me can't tell with half an eye. You take my word for it, Mrs. Ramsay. That chain you're wearing will never be worth a cent less than it is now.
That's a pretty chain of Mrs. Ramsay's, isn't it?
I noticed it at once. Gee, I said to myself, those are pearls all right.
I didn't buy it myself, of course, but I'd be interested to know how much you think it cost.
Oh, in the trade, somewhere around $15,000. But if it was bought on the 5th Avenue, shouldn't be surprised to hear that anything up to $30,000 was paid for it.
You'll be surprised to hear that Mrs. Ramsay bought that string at a department store the day before we left New York for $18.
Rot! It's not only real, but it's as fine a string for its size as I have ever seen.
Will you bet on it? I'll bet you $100 it's imitation.
Done?
Oh, Elmer, you can't bet on a certainty.
Can't I? If I get a chance of easy money like that, I should be all sorts of a fool not to take it.
But how can it be proved? It's only my word against Mr. Kellada's.
Let me have a look at the chain. And if it's imitation, I will tell you quickly enough. I can afford to lose $100.
Take it off, dear. Let the gentleman look at it as much as he wants to.
I can't undo it. Mr. Kellada will just have to take my word for it.
I'll undo it.
I don't like the look of this.
I was mistaken. It is a very good imitation. But of course, as soon as I looked through my glass, I saw that it wasn't real. I think $18 is just about as much as the damn thing's worth.
Perhaps that'll teach you not to be so cocksure another time, my dear friend.
The story soon spread over the ship, as stories often do, and Kellada had to put up with a great deal of chaff that evening. It was a fine joke that Mr. Knowall had been caught out. But Mrs. Ramsay retired to her stateroom with a headache. Max Gelada, a letter for you, early in the morning.
Who's it from? Oh! Do you mind throwing this out of the porthole, please? No one likes being made to look a perfect damn fool.
Were the pearls real?
If I had a pretty little wife. If I had a pretty little wife, I shouldn't let her spend a year in New York while I stayed at Tokyo.
And at that moment, I did not entirely dislike our Mr. Knowall, Max Gelada.
Ladies and gentlemen, for being such a nice and lovely audience, I'm sure you enjoyed it as much as we did performing for you. Thank you so much. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, let me have the pleasure of presenting to you the director of this play, Mr. Ravira Sagar.
I would now like to introduce you to my backstage team. Can I request the production team to step forward? The makeup was done by Mr. B.S. Rawat and Veena ji. The man on keyboard, Mr. Kaushik Majumdar. Lights were handled by Sachi Agarwal. Lighting design by Alok Jain. Properties and stage management by Sanpreet. Devashish, Saeed Taha, Abhinav Goyal, Pavandeep Singh, Akash Jindal. Costumes management by Vikram Jajodia. Costumes design was by Suchitra Chauhan. Sets manager Sonu Sonkar. Production manager Naina Sagar. Costumes management and production controller Preeti Gupta. The original lyrics and composition of the song Mr. Knowall was by Rahul Sachdeva. This was the 18th and the last show of this play. Dramatech will be back again next year with 3 new productions. The first one will be staged around middle of February on the Valentine's Day at Shri Ram Center. The second one end July and August at Alliance Francaise, and the third one end of the year at Shri Ram Center. Please be in touch with our site dramatech.in to be updated about our new plays, or you can join our mailing list whereby we'll send you new play alerts. Thank you for joining us this evening. Good night.
Chachi.